Hello creators and crafters, and welcome! In today's video I'm going to show you how to make a fairy house using mostly Dollar Tree items. Other stores' items can be quite costly and really add up in the end. I have big plans to make a fairy garden display, but I wanted to dedicate a whole video to the house itself. This is only the beginning of many more fairy related crafts to come, so stay tuned and let's begin. I purchased almost all of my items from the Dollar Tree, but you can buy similar items of your choice from any store that carries them. Here's what you'll need. 1 fairy door, 1 bucket for the base of the house, 1 pack of funnels for the roof, and 1 to 2 bags of mixed stones, 1 to 2 packs of reindeer moss, and a glue gun or glue of your choice. I discovered while making this project that rocks do not stick to hot glue. Other glue options took too long to dry, and I had the genius idea to use caulking for adhering the rocks onto the bucket base. The best part about caulking is that it looks like mortar between the rocks and can be smoothed with water and fingers. The Dollar Tree has white caulking, but I used some leftover that I had. Home improvement stores carry other colors such as almond, gray, black, and brown, but the Dollar Tree only carries white. The benefit of buying from the Dollar Tree, though, is the price, but the choice is yours. Here are some additional Dollar Tree items I used as decor for this project. Some brown moss I purchased last year, river rocks, and flowers. I touched up the fairy door with the paint and cleaned the funnel and bucket with rubbing alcohol just to be safe. The river rocks aren't necessary, but I have more plans to use them for the rest of the fairy project I'll be doing in the future, and I like the different texture. First, we'll begin by wiping our bucket and funnel down. I want to make sure my surfaces are clean of anything that may inhibit the caulk from adhering. Then we'll trace the base of our funnel onto the cardboard and cut a larger circle so that the funnel can sit nicely on top. Once that's complete, glue the funnel to the cardboard circle. Use a liberal amount of glue here because the base is going to be pretty darn heavy, and if you lift the house from the roof or chimney, you don't want the base to fall off. Better safe than sorry. Now we're just going to glue all of the moss onto the funnel roof. Work in small areas to guarantee max adhesion to the glue. This step takes a while, but I found it's pretty relaxing and the moss is extremely messy, so don't be afraid to work on some newspaper or parchment paper, which I do later. Better late than never. The fairy door is mostly fine the way it is, but I decided to touch up the paint. This step is not necessary, but it's not painted the best, and since I had the paint, it was free minus my time. Feel free to get creative and even change the colors of certain parts. The Dollar Tree has 3 different front doors, I believe, but I loved the mushrooms, so I chose them. Any door will do, so pick whichever you like best. Don't be afraid to go crazy here, but also don't feel obligated to make any changes. The choice is yours. Now to the chimney. The one thing I love about the funnel is literally the funnel itself. You could make a roof from cardboard and cover it, but I envisioned a chimney when I saw the funnel. So when you're caulking, apply a generous amount to the chimney and spread via fingers or popsicle stick. Then add more to the rocks backs of your choice in place. If you're using white caulking from the Dollar Tree, I would recommend picking out lighter colored or white rocks for less contrast. If you find that the contrast between the rocks and the caulking is not for you, you can always paint the chimney. This next part is a step that I would recommend you do and not skip. When you dip your fingers in the water and smooth them along the caulking between the rocks, it really makes it look like mortar. I prefer this over leaving it as is. Once the chimney was done, I had to think of something to hide the cardboard. Since I had so many leaves, I decided to overlap them like shingles horizontally all the way around the rim. I didn't want to use rocks because the whole base will be covered with rocks and more texture seemed like a better choice for me. Go all the way around the rim with your leaves, pinching just the base to the cardboard. I overlapped 4 leaves to cover the divot of the funnel to hide it. It also sort of looks like an awning and I'm about it. Where you can see the glue, I want to add something here later to pull my fairy house into the design of the rest of the fairy garden, but feel free to cover your glue spot with moss if you're not sure how to cover it and don't plan to add anything later on. Next, outline where you want your door to go so you don't put rocks on this area while you get into the groove of things. I placed a towel down so my bucket wouldn't roll around while I worked. Apply an excessive amount of caulking all over the area you're working in and go to town with your rocks. You can mix them on randomly or go for an ombre effect if that's your thing. I kept it simple and randomly placed mine. Again, if you're not into all of the colors, you can paint your house later. You can even whitewash it if that's more your vibe. Just go for whatever color story suits your style and decor. I pulled the label as best I could off of the back of the front door and then put a ton of caulking on the back since the bucket is angled. To fill in the gaps, just added more caulking. On the right side, I'll show you a better view of what I'm doing, so don't skip ahead if you want to see that. Find as many small rocks as possible and fill in the gaps between the door and the bucket. In most cases, for me, more is more. This is now my favorite part. I feel like the moss is the icing on the cake and truly makes this house feel more authentic. It really pulled in the nature vibe and made it go from looking a bit cheap to an actual pro project. Basically, you're just going to shove as much deer moss as you feel fits into the crevices between the rocks. The natural look of the moss really made this fairy house for me. Along the top of the bucket, you can see that my rock slowly slid down as I worked because I didn't leave it enough time for drying. I wasn't concerned about this, and my solution was to just add more caulking and moss all the way along the top. I wanted the house to look as if it had been around a long time, aged with vines crawling up its sides and slowly becoming one with the forest. I added these pieces of flowers onto it, and I'll add the rest of these flowers to my fairy garden for some craft cohesion. I'm just going to town with all of my extra flowers. Again, more is more for my personal preference. Now we glue the roof on. Use as much glue as possible here and don't be afraid to add more if you're concerned. Atop the roof, I want a viney vibe as well, so I just figured out how I wanted it to crawl and glued it on. I then added flowers to it so it looked like a flowering vine. And finally, just stick on any finishing touches. I added more moss to the steps to make them appear a bit higher quality and match the rest of the project. Always pull elements through your whole project so it looks put together. Here is the completed project. Thanks so much for watching, and if you like this video and are excited to see a full garden in the future, let me know and subscribe. I appreciate your words of encouragement and support. Now go and have an amazing week.